Happy Sunday, guys. Happy Sunday. How are you doing today? Hope you had a beautiful week. You enjoyed your weekend and you're preparing for the week ahead. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of Bible Study with Mrs. A. How are you doing today? I am so sorry we could not meet last week Sunday. We did not I did not release the continuation of what we've been discussing since the first Sunday in March. Last week Sunday I've been off and on. Please pardon me. Today we're going to complete that series on the story of blind Bartimaeus. We have been looking at Mark chapter 10 from verse 46 to 52. We looked at the lessons to learn from that very short story, how Bartimaeus did not allow the voice of the crowd to drown his voice, how he shouted to a point where Jesus had to stand still to attend to him, how the same crowd that told him to keep quiet were the same people that called on him to tell him that Jesus is calling him. So we have looked at several lessons from that passage, and we are going to be concluding on that passage today. All right, welcome once again. Okay, so Mark chapter 10 from verse 46 to 52. I may not have to read over again because we are beginning to get familiar with that scripture, the story of blind Bartimaeus. Jesus was going to Jericho, and on his way there was a blind man sitting down, and he was shouting, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me, have mercy on me, have mercy on me." And the people were saying, "It's okay, keep quiet," and all of that. But he kept on crying. He did not allow what the people were saying to stop him from voicing out what he really wanted. And he shouted to a point where Jesus heard him, and he stood still, and he called him forth. And the same crowd that were telling him to keep quiet were the same people that beckoned on him to tell him that Jesus is calling him. So we're going to conclude on that today, and we'll be looking at verse 51 and verse 52. We looked at the lessons from verse 46 up until verse 50. So today we'll be concluding with the lessons from verse 51 and in verse 52. So I'll quickly just read those two verses. I'm reading from the RSV version. Verse 51 says, "And Jesus said to him, 'What do you want me to do for you?' And the blind man said to him, 'Master, let me receive my sight.'" Verse 52, "And Jesus said to him, 'Go your way, your faith has made you well.' And immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way." Two lessons from these two verses. From verse 51, it was very clear and simple. Jesus called unto him and asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And blind Bartimaeus was specific. He said that I may receive my sight. He was specific. When Jesus asked him what he wanted, he knew exactly what he wanted. He was specific. So now this is a lesson to us today as Christians, that we must be specific in our prayers. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 7 says, "Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open." So you have to ask, and when you are asking, you must ask for a specific thing. You must ask for a specific thing. What is that specific thing that you are trusting God for? What is that thing that you are, that you want God to do for you? When God comes to ask you, what do you want? What will be your reply? Are you going to go on to say, like that man in the story in John chapter 5? Yes, if I'm correct, John chapter 5, the man that had the infirmity for 38 years that was beside the pool of Bethsaida. And when Jesus came, "Would you be made whole?" He went on to start saying story. There's nobody that will help me. The question was simple. Would you be made whole? The answer was supposed to be either yes or no. But in the case of blind Bartimaeus, he knew what he wanted. When Jesus said, "What do you want me to do for you? So why have you been calling me? Why are you shouting my name? What do you want me to do for you?" He went on ahead to say that I may receive my sight. So in your journey, in your walk with God, in asking God what you want, I like you to be specific. Ask God specifically what you want him to do for you. Ask him specifically, you need a new job. Ask him specifically, you want a new house. Just ask him, be specific. Don't just go on ahead to say, God bless me. The blessing of God is enormous. So be specific. Now verse 52. Verse 52 says, and Jesus said to him, go your way, your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed him. Now, if you have been following Bible study series on this YouTube channel, you realize that we've been tilting towards the subject of faith. When we looked at the story of the woman with the issue of blood, it was her faith that made her whole. Now, here again in the story of blind Bartimaeus, Jesus told him, go your way, your faith has made you whole. Which means it was not even just the fact that he actually eventually spoke to Jesus. It was the faith he had from the beginning. Because he had faith from the beginning that this Jesus can heal me. He did not, it was not depending on whatever it is that could happen. He had faith. He had this assurance in him that he believed, like we looked at the first lesson that we looked at in the course of this series, was that he knew that Jesus had the capacity to heal him. That was faith. How strong is your faith? As much as you're praying and you're asking God for this, for that, and all of that, is your faith strong enough to heal you? Is your faith enough to receive that which God has prepared for you? Is your faith worthy enough to receive what you are actually praying for? Have you grown your faith to the point where you have the capacity to receive what you're praying for? Today, as we journey into the study, as we wrap up the study of the life of blind Bartimaeus, ask yourself, how deep is my faith? Can my faith make me whole? Can your faith make you whole? Can my faith make me whole? Jesus said to blind Bartimaeus, go your way, your faith has made you whole. Which means he had faith from the beginning that Jesus had capacity to heal him. Do you have faith? Let your faith heal you. I want to believe that you have been blessed by this episode today, and you have been blessed by the series. And if you are just bumping into this YouTube channel, you can scroll down and start watching, the Bible study series that we have started. I want to believe you have been blessed. If you have been blessed, don't forget to like, comment, and share, and don't forget to click on the subscription button. I'll see you next week Sunday. Have a beautiful week ahead. Bye.